Hey, Battle Built here with another video. Getting into some more Season 11, Season 12, I'm not sure because leaderboards just went up and they're confusing. But Go Battle League battles taking place in the Retro Cup meta. Today is going to be the only day I put out a Retro Cup video team. I don't know if Retro Cup comes back at any point this season, but Retro Cup has made multiple appearances and who knows when the meta will sway. So it's always good to get out a good team. Plus, there's still today's battles and tomorrow's battles if you need a solid go-to meta team that's super bulky, super spammy, and puts in work in the Retro Cup Go Battle League meta. So this team of three, solid options all around. The main feature, the main focus is just how much of a beast Greedent is. And this team I've been performing quite well with because I was away in Ohio for NAIC and I didn't really do my research in Retro Cup and I just kind of jumped in before I got this team and dropped like 100 or so points. Got this team from an opponent that I faced, completely yoinked it. Shout out to them. I don't remember their name unfortunately, so I was trying to grab any team that I could and I took this right off their hands and I've gained over 100 points with this team. So let's jump into these battles and show you how good this team is and why it's so good. And as we jump in, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into the battles. So first matchup, we have Defenseoxys on Frostlass, which would appear as a negative lead just based on the pure fact that Frostlass is a ghost type and Defenseoxys is a psychic type. So we don't want to get hit by a Shadow Ball. As you get to that rock slide, Frostlass is getting to the Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, we got baited there. So we're not sitting in the best spot, but the positive is Frostlass typically will shield that. So we now go into our ultimate safe swap here of Greedent, and Greedent is such a beast because it's bulky and it's spammy. Running the fast move of Bullet Seed that lets you generate energy at an insane pace, on top of the fact that it has really cheap energy moves to get to while generating energy fast in the form of Body Slam and Crunch. So we are just Body Slam spamming to the nth degree here. And also these battles were from yesterday's stream because I just got back from Ohio like I mentioned. And because these battles are super recent, you'll notice the game is fixed. Hooray, Pog U, for the most part, at least Sneaks and Denial, which was like the biggest mechanical issue that needed to happen. If you don't have a good internet connection, you're gonna run some lag, and there's still a little bit of some visual odysseys. That's not the word I was trying to use, like odd, they're odd, not odyssey. Anyhow, you know what I mean by that. So there's some like visual things that hopefully aren't too big of fixes now that the main fix for Pokemon Go Battle League has been fixed, and so it's a little bit more consistent. See, fast move, Powder Snow getting through there as they throw their charge move. The only time a fast move will not sneak through is if it's CMP, and both Mons are throwing charge moves at the same time. As you'll see here though, we're trying to spam it up a bunch. We're gonna land Icicle Spear on the Frostlass, going for another one. Seems they're gonna want to commit their shield, and they do. So I thought they didn't. But because they do, I'm losing track of which battles these are already. I'm in the first battle. Listen, I'm getting back on the YouTube grind. I'm sorry. I'm still going to be rusty as I'm trying to commentate these battles. But because I survived that Shadow Ball and because Wolverine's so thick and because they shielded, we were able to farm down, which gave us a bunch of energy to throw it there. Greedent, the Greedent comes in. They're going to throw crunches that are going to be super effective to us. But our combination of counter damage and the Psycho Boost that we're going to be able to land here is going to be plenty to win us this match. But yes, so the game is a lot more fluid, a lot more consistent. It's not 100% perfect, but it's way closer than where it was before, which is really exciting to see for the state of the game, especially if anybody that cares about PvP and wants to see this continue to get to that next level. Getting into the next match, we have another Frostlass lead, and the craziest thing is, like, Frostlass leads are one that I've seen a bunch, and again, it being a ghost on the psychic type of Deoxys, you would assume it to be a bad lead, but it actually ends up not being that terrible, and I don't mind playing it out, on top of the fact that, like, Greedent does well against Frostlass in the back, and even Wolverine isn't too terrible because it resists all the ice damage. But because they swapped and because we don't have an amazing answer for their Lickitung that came in, we dealt some damage with Deoxys. We've come in with Wolverine here. Our goal is to essentially flip switch, which is why we didn't swap immediately. We want to have Greedent on their Frostlass that's now in the back, so we have to bring in Wolverine against Lickitung, and we had to do damage the way that we did so that the power whips from Lickitung did not land on it. Unfortunately, we're at a shield disadvantage here. We have built up to an Earthquake, so we're going to commit the shield because they need to land the Shadow Ball, and that's what I'm talking about one of these visual inconsistencies that are hopefully a lot easier fixes. As you saw, we CMP'd, they threw the charge move. As it landed, I had to start swiping immediately. That obviously needs to be fixed and is a concern, but nowhere near as big of a deal as the the fast-moving consistencies of sneaks versus denials. So, yep. Continuing with this battle, they land the Shadow Ball, they take us out, but we were at a shield disadvantage, and now we're even both in the no-shield situation. The Frostlass is going to be spamming avalanches at our Greedent. They obviously don't want to throw Shadow Balls here. Those would be double resisted because we're a normal type. Then they swap and pull a great catch as I'm trying to land the crunch on their Ghost type, and they catch a crunch on their Greedent. And like you'll see, because Greedent is such a beast, it's going to not just be on my team, it's going to be on a bunch of my opponent's teams also. And Defenseox's matchup against this is not too amazing, but because we don't want to debuff our counters here, we're going to throw a Rock Slide and we're going to counter down as much as possible. Ideally, counter all the way down, but they get to a charge move here, and this works out perfectly for us because now their Greedent is in the perfect amount of health range to get farmed down. They're going to throw a Body Slam here. Our Greedent is so chunky and thick that they're going to survive. Sorry, there's something that was bothering me on my lip. Anyhow, they try to avoid getting farmed down, so they swap out, but you'll see that we still outpace them to the crunch land on the Frostlass, and then we bullet seeded down, and my Greedent just had slightly better IVs or just a little bit more health and survives our bullet seed. 1 HP in a dream. You'll love to see it. Getting into the next match, we have a same lead. Defenseox is on Defenseox, and again, because there's no sneak and denials now, you know based on this visual that this had to be CMP. So we land the Rock Slide there. They threw the exact same time we did. Whenever we decide to throw, if they get a counter through, we know now that we're going to also get the counter through. And as much as I'm not one to try and compliment Niantic because this game should have been fixed long time ago with the resources that they have, at least now things are heading in a legitimately serious positive direction. Of course, like I already mentioned, I'm sure you're going to experience lag. I'm sure there's going to be some slight issues. We've already seen a slight visual issue, but the game, again, is in a much better place, thankfully, than where it was 2 days ago. So now they've let their Defenseox go down. They brought in Macargo, so we auto-swap because we're not trying to get farmed down by the Macargo. The Macargo is also throwing Rock Throw, so the less Rock Throws they throw, the better, because we don't want them to be generating energy too fast. And again, one of those CMP visual energy generation bugs there. I don't have any other more words to say about it other than this is now the new thing, but it's nowhere near as big of an issue. Anyhow, the one other positive about Greedent and it being such a good mon is that you could so comfortably swap into it even after winning lead the way that we did. If we don't want our Defenseox to get farmed down, we can comfortably go into Greedent, kind of give up switch even after winning lead and still not feel like we're at any type of disadvantage, because you definitely prefer not to get farmed down, especially with Macargo, who can land something like Overheat. They've now swapped into their own Greedent. Again, 3 for 3. We played 3 matches. I've had Greedent, they've had Greedent. We all have Greedent. Greedent's amazing mom. They're spamming up their own body slams, and we're just doing our best to overfarm and also outpace them, just being careful of not throwing too late and letting them get to a move. I guess depending on where their energy was at, they decided that they were going to let their Greedent go down. And they have a shield here, and we throw this Icicle Spear, and they don't use it. Paid actors confirmed, the positive being a content creator, they wanted to be in my YouTube video. So like, you know what, we'll throw because Battle Build clearly needs that win. I did still technically have a win con there, but it was a lot more of an ideal situation that my opponent decided, you know what, here's a win. I won't use my last shield. Anytime, Battle Build. Okay, cool. Getting to this next matchup, we have Defenseox on a Zangoose lead, and our opponent played that really well, throwing the Night Slash and then catching the Rock Slide on their Cresselia, saving them a shield. So an insane play on their end. I was quite taken back by that play. I was not expecting it. I guess they knew that I was throwing it good timing, and again, similar visual issue. We just do the charge move, look at where my shield is. But again, this seems more like a visual. I'm going to say this like a million times at this pace because it's already appeared like 4 times. But this seems more of a visual problem than a legitimate mechanical problem. So hopefully they're on top of this ASAP and they've seen enough video on the potential issue, because again, similar with most Niantic things, one bug gets fixed, a few more appear, but I think for the first time this is one of the less serious ones that have appeared after a legitimate bug has been fixed. They now come in with Defenseox, which was a very good play on their part, because I was not expecting that Defenseox, and as you'll notice, the previous charge move I threw was a Body Slam, which was neutral on their Mon, so they knew that I was expecting their Zangoose to come in and I was going to try and throw Body Slams right away. I also knew they were relatively close to another charge move based on the timing that they swapped at, and they were able to eat a Body Slam because of it. So very well done on their part. The issue here is now I don't want to bring in Wall Rain against their Defenseoxes, but now my Wall Rain also needs this shield because their Zangoose is going to get to a charge move, and that charge move is going to be close combat, which would one-shot our Wall Rain. So as you'll notice, I'm not using shields here. This is essentially GG. They won this match once they ended up catching the Rock Slide on their crest, because as Zangoose left with too much energy, that I was not going to be in a positive situation. I could not shield anything that the Defense Deoxys wanted to throw there because I needed to preserve it for the Zangoose. Anyhow, getting to the next matchup, we've one lead with Defense Deoxys on their Beware. They've save swapped into Shadow Gyarados. I don't know if this is Retro Cup here or if it's Fossil Cup, because I haven't seen a Shadow Gyarados since that Fossil Cup. But Shadow Gyarados is not as amazing in this meta, unfortunately. Too many bulky mons, and then of course Wolverine plays this matchup very well, because even though it's taking neutral from the Dragon Breaths and those are adding up, we resist the Aqua Tail, so they have to go all the way for crunches, and because of no more sneaks and denials, we're able to get through all the fast moves that we need to appropriately get through, so we generate energy properly. And just to not take the chance of getting to any move here, we decide not to go for the farm down, and also the Dragon Breaths were kind of doing a bit of damage, so we throw the Icicle Spear, take out their Gyarados. They come in with the Beware. We're going to throw an Icicle Spear at it, and we're sitting in a relatively good spot. They've gotten through 2 fast moves there. We know Payback is a lot of energy, and Payback is the only move on the Beware that's going to threaten our Defense Deoxys, so we wanted to get in there as soon as possible. They swap into Frostlass. We've matched them with our Greedent here, and again, sitting in another positive situation, just based on the pure fact that Greedent plays this Frostlass matchup very well. Because they have a little bit of an energy advantage, though, I think, yeah, they're going to outpace us here, which is fine because the crunch landed. It got the defense debuff, so we can build up the perfect amount of energy because they had to throw immediately. We now go for a Psycho Boost here, which will take out the Frostlass's remaining health. We expect the Beware to come in, but again, they need that Payback. They're only at like 5, maybe 6 because that Sneak, Shadow Claws, and I think it's, what, 7 or 8 to get the Payback. So we get our second Psycho Boost off, and it takes out their Beware's remaining health, and we get another dub there. So far, off with the team. I love it a lot because it generates energy so well, super bulky, and of course, Greedent, as you've already noticed in these matches, has popped off tremendously. Getting to this next matchup, we have Defense Deoxys on a Crustle. Crustle, not an ideal mon for Defense Deoxys, as much as we have counter against a Rock type. They're a bug against our Psychic type, and as you'll notice, even though we threw the Rock Slide and we forced a shield, we did not want to eat any of the energy on the Defense Deoxys from the Crustle, so we tried to swap out. Unfortunately, did not catch anything. The Crustle decided to throw. So now they've matched our Greedent swap with their own Defense Deoxys. And as you'll notice, because sneaks and stuff are working properly, they're going to throw a Rock Slide. We're going to survive. And even though Greedent does not like this matchup because it's taking super effective counters from the Defense Deoxys, we end up leaving the situation in a positive because we have such a strong shield advantage. And the energy that the Defense Deoxys has is going to be kind of useless against our own Defense Deoxys because we can tank those Rock Slides so well. So they can come back in with their Crustle, even with all the energy that they had. We're going to shield the next Scissor because it would either, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to take us out, but it's going to get us pretty damn close. And we need to preserve our Defense Deoxys against this Crustle to keep it away from our Wolverine. We even decide to double shield because they decide to stay in this matchup, which means we can either counter them down or their last mon doesn't want to see the Defense Deoxys. And like I said, their last mon does not. So we Psycho Boost, we swap into Wolverine, and we're thinking this is going to be a positive situation because the typical charge moves Medicham throws are Ice Punch, Psychic, but this opponent is running Pup. And I made the mistake here of going for an Icicle Spear. But then again, I wasn't at the EQ, so maybe I didn't make a mistake. Because when I played this originally, I thought I was at the EQ when I threw that Icicle Spear. So never mind, I actually just was not in an ideal situation because their Medicham was running Pup. If it was running any other charge move, Ice Punch, we would have double resisted. Psychic would have been neutral. We might have been able to outpace. But then again, they did get a little, maybe like they snuck a counter through. So we might have gotten outpaced and might have just been screwed that their last mon, unfortunately, was another Wolverine counter. Getting into this next matchup, we have Defense Deoxys on a Dragalge. Dragalge being a Poison Dragon type. We're going to build up to 2 Psycho Boosts. We expect them to be at the Outrage and need to throw the Outrage because of how thick Deoxys is, so they don't want to throw Aqua Tail and then us decide to call their bait and then tank it. So we've double Psycho Boost. Obviously, the first one gets a shield, the second one doesn't do as much damage, so they decide to let that one through, but because it's super effective, it does kind of hurt. And we comfortably save swap into Greedent here also. So we're just doing that a ton, consistently save swapping into Greedent. We know based on their Dragon Tails, that had to be an Aqua Tail, not an Outrage, so we were not too worried. We let it come through, and we're able to farm down. And they decided to also stay in. That's another thing. A lot of people are not prepared for a Greedent Safe Swap. They're not a bunch of fighters. The one that's the most prevalent, it's not even really a fighter. It's Defenseoxys, who's a psychic type but has counter. You'll occasionally see a Metacham, but with the lack of fighters and essential counter users throughout the entire meta, Greedent can comfortably safe swap into many situations. And even when you run into some of those situations where they do have a counter user, you already saw how well our Greedent popped off against the Defenseoxys in the previous match. So it almost feels like in this specific meta, Greedent has no weaknesses. Now, as you'll notice, they're running a double ghost line, so that's Greedent's their worst nightmare. We also swap here, and the trainer came through after because that was a really weird play. It's not like we caught the move. Apparently, they dealt with some lag. It didn't appear on my end, but they dealt with some lag, and when the game ended up picking up, they did not see that my Greedent was no longer there, so they threw an Ice Beam, which was unfortunate for them. They would have had to have thrown 2 charge moves regardless. Maybe they could have gone for the Hex down, but they would have landed the first Shadow Ball, and if they went for the Hex down, we would have still landed that Icicle Spear. So I think we still comfortably come in with Greedent anyway, and they were losing this no matter what the circumstances were. So whether they threw the Shadow Ball or not, they would have had to make the decision on the second one if they wanted to throw it or go for a Hex farm down, and I think that Greedent still would have put in work, and we would have won that match either way. Getting into this next matchup, one of the weird leads that Defenseoxys does not enjoy going up against is Lickitung, because Lickitung, similar to Greedent, is super thick. So it eats these counters even though they're super effective. And they're not spamming body slams as well as Greedent does, but they're doing it well enough to catch me off guard as I essentially threw another counter there, building up energy that I thought I could build up, but they were at 2 body slams, so I was forced to use a shield. I prefer Greedent still in this meta, just based on the pure fact that Greedent beats Lickitung because Bullet Seed is neutral against the against Lickitung, whereas Lick is double resisted by the Greedent against Lickitung. But you'll notice in this matchup, it doesn't matter how the lead goes, our team is ABB double weak to counter, and as you'll notice, they have a counter user in the back after we've already expended a majority of our Defenseoxys, and then you'll notice they have a second counter user. So that's just GG. RPS is bound to happen. You're bound to run into a team that kind of beats you in the lead and then hard counters you in the back. Those matches just happen. But aside from that, we've only run into that team once, and this team has popped off in literally all the other matches and other circumstances. So let me know your thoughts on the team. Let me know if you've run a team similar to this. I've seen some teams very similar to this. I know all 3 of these mons are very popular in the Retro Cup meta, but I want to give you my essential formation with these mons and show you the success that I've been able to have. Also, the new thing that you're going to need to get better at, because sneaks are happening consistently, is getting your fast move timing down, especially against Incinerates. The last thing you want to do is throw a 1-turn move and let your opponent get an entire 5-turn Incinerate through. That will set you back a bunch if you cannot time those matchups and those fast move situations properly. So we have shield advantage here. Our Greedent has gone down, but because we have the shield advantage, we're going to come in Defenseoxys, hope they overheat. They decide to overheat, and then we're going to counter them down completely. I forget what their lead was because I was talking about fast move stuff, so I'm assuming that Mon's going to come back in, but Defenseoxys has a bunch of energy now. Oh, it was Altaria. Yes, also, so the 2 matchups for Defenseoxys I don't typically like to play out, also because I'm not running into a lot of double counter teams like the last match. I don't always necessarily swap the Oxys out, but when I do, it's against Altaria and Frostlass, and I'll try to throw like a Rock Slide and then dip and things along those lines. So here we've already gotten all their shields. We almost fast moved down their Altaria. They swap out just in time. Thankfully, though, we have the shield advantage in this matchup against the Greedent because, again, Greedent's super spammy. It almost feels like it outspams us, or at least it's pretty damn close. It's definitely a tight race between fast moves and charge moves, and we still have to be careful and try to time as best as possible because we're throwing a 2-turn fast move in Powder Snow, whereas they're throwing a 3-turn fast move in Bullet Seed, and we don't want to give them free fast moves when they're already generating energy super fast. Thankfully, though, we land the Icicle Spear, and we were able to then fast move down their Greedent. They come in with the Altaria, we throw an Icicle Spear, and that's going to be GG for the remainder of that match. So the end of that played out pretty well. There seemed to be a slight hiccup of lag, but it looked like it affected both of us. But yes, also you'll notice the elo I'm playing at near expert, trying to make an expert push with this team. What I noticed though is a lot more people are playing Open Great League this time around. I was gonna say let me know about that, but it's too late for me to try to put out videos on both for the time being, just based on the pure fact that this meta is about to end. and we're going to get into Ultra League and Kanto Cup. But do let me know in the comment section below what you would prefer to see content and video wise when this next week is up, because my school year has finally ended. I am a teacher, similar to FP Sticks. If you notice, FP Sticks has been uploading a lot more also recently because of the pure fact that his school year is over. He's been streaming a bunch and putting out YouTube content, which is fantastic to see, and I'm in a similar boat. So for the past like month or so, I was still teaching. I was getting out maybe about 2 videos a week. I was trying. The goal though, now that I'm on summer break for the next 2 months, is to get out 5 videos minimum a week, unless I'm away, because I will be away in July going to Seattle for GoFest, and then in August I'm going on a family vacation. But aside from that, I plan to get out as many uploads as I feasibly can, and I would like to get into a routine where when the school year comes back around, I don't need to take off 6 months, 7 months like I did last year, or this previous year. So hopefully I figure that out. Only time will tell. Anyhow, continuing with this matchup, I'm throwing Ice School Spears at their Medicham. They have a Lickitung as their last mon. The Lickitung, I think, just has too much health. I don't remember if we have a shield here or not. They had the shield. Yeah, this is just over. This match is over. Our 2 last mons don't have enough health, and they had a shield on their Lickitung. We're going to try to spam the heck out of them and catch them off guard, but I don't think we're going to be able to play out of this situation. I don't think our Defenseoxys has any energy. Wait a minute, did we win this? Maybe I lied. Maybe it's over in my favor. Defenseoxys at the Psycho Boost. I lied. I may have missed 2/3 of the match, giving you guys the life update, but we won that one, of course. Who was worried? Battle Bill losing? Never that, even though there was a couple losses in this video. Regardless, those are the battles with that team. Please let me know your thoughts. Let me know your experiences in the Retro Cup. And then, also, I was trying to say I was expert pushing before, but I was running into way more queue times in Retro than there was going on in Great League. Like, I was in the 2600s sitting in queue times like I was really on leaderboards, whereas people in like the 2800s were finding battles in Open Great League, which was crazy enough in itself. But regardless, let me know what you want to see when the metas change on Wednesday at Niantic o'clock. Would you rather see Ultra League content or Kanto Cup content? I think tomorrow I'm going to put out a Kanto Cup video, just because I'm sure there's been plenty of Ultra League videos right before the meta has dropped, and we've only gotten Kanto Cup ranked like maybe once or twice tops. Don't quote me. I'm usually a good guesstimator on things that have happened. But regardless, please tell me in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate y'all as always. Content's incoming. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video.